Good morning, friends and family of the internet and fellow watchers on the wall. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. Whoa, wow. Get your coffee, get your hot tea, sit down because we're fixing to bust out the research, friends and family. Did you guys know that Kim Clement was very good friends with the Seven Mountain Mandate forefather? Yes, Lance Wallnau. Mm-hmm. I know. I know a lot of you really liked Kim Clement. In fact, we're going to deep dive today. Is Erica Kirk the Esther, the divine feminine? Because a lot of us have seen this rumor continue to resurface that Erica Kirk is pregnant with her third child, right? I debunked that like 3 weeks ago, but I see it pop back on X and I see it in a way that I never saw it before. Someone, and I quote, says she's going to deliver an immaculate conception. Charlie's dead. She's going to deliver this baby, claim it's his, and everybody's going to claim that she is the divine feminine, the replacement of Mary. And the occult is just going to gobble her up, and the Christians are going to be stuck with her. So we're going to talk about this today, about how all these people from Erica Kirk to Lance to Kim are interconnected in a way we didn't know until they assassinated Charlie Kirk. But before I get into these deep topics, I want to read something to you guys. This comes from a book that was shipped to me called Angels Don't Play This Harp, HAARP. Advances in Tesla Technology. And in chapter 23, it talks about the CIA using HARP in Alaska as mind control. The HARP transmitting system could be used inadvertently or intentionally to alter mental functions. It goes on to say the CIA's interest in mind control began with the Korean War, during which the North Koreans demonstrated skills in the area of mind control not previously seen in the West. The CIA undertook a significant research effort into this area, which extended to numerous related fiascos. Some of these were uncovered in subsequent scandalous revelations, which included Canadian citizens being mentally manipulated without consent, treatment of thousands of university students and military personnel with LSD and other type drugs. To the CIA, Dr. Delgado's wireless effects were thought provoking. He discovered that animals could be placed within an electromagnetic field, an EMF, and be manipulated without any physical contact. Moreover, the fields Delgado uses are as low as 1/15 the strength of the Earth's own magnetic fields. Yet, when the signal is tuned to precise frequencies, Delgado can do much more than make a monkey sleepy. These technologies are increasingly being recognized by other researchers, and the database has reached a level of certainty not understood as little as 10 years ago. Today, a number of tools for brain entertainment are even being marketed. Very sophisticated brain biofeedback devices have also been developed, which are being used to teach individuals to alter their own brain activity to more desirable states. These devices are being used to help people with various mental dysfunctions, and others reach higher peak performance mental states. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about hundreds of thousands of people in the middle of an auditorium cheering on the widow of Charlie Kirk and possibly being controlled without even knowing that they're being controlled. I know it feels like science fiction. I know how it sounds. In my everyday life, I don't just walk up to people in grocery stores and I'm like, yo, hey, did you know that if they pointed an EMF machine our direction, you and I would just drop down asleep right here. Or we might turn into lunatics and start tearing the store apart. No, I don't talk to average people about that. I talk to you guys because most people don't want to know. They want the sense of everything's okay. This is America. This is Europe. This is Canada. We are safe, without realizing that the technology has gotten to an extent that if they point it in your direction, you are no longer going to be you. This is why we have the armor of God, friends and family. The armor of God can deflect anything. But now more than ever, we need to be firm in our belief systems. And there's something that I'm going to show you later when I get to X and I start showing you some things I'm seeing coming out of China. But I'm also seeing this Muslim movement in Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, America. One of the things that began to happen about 15 years ago with the advent of social media was this push to destroy Christian holidays. You come to America, there were a few things that were very American. Baseball, right? The Super Bowl, right? You also had 4th of July, New Year's, but also Christmas and Thanksgiving. Those are very, very American. It didn't matter if you were here illegal or you were an immigrant, come legally to America, if you were black, white, male, female. These were the holidays that Americans shared. We shared them. It was a coming together. 20 years ago, when I was still in the classroom teaching students, there was the direct attack against being able to say anything about Jesus on Easter or Christmas. I mean, anything at all. You could lose your teaching license and be sued. We pushed through that. Well, when they realized that that wasn't going to stop Americans from celebrating Jesus, what they then did was begin to guilt Christians. Oh, it's pagan. Don't celebrate it. It's really pagan. I believe that all of that came from the East. What better way than to demoralize and destabilize the things that held us together as a country, our shared common grounds? Pull that apart and you leave a void. Well, we all know that there can be no empty spaces. There can be no voids. If you remove something, something else takes its place. Do you want to know what that is? It's the Muslims, because unlike Christians, they aren't debating whether or not Christians should celebrate Christmas. They want it all stopped. And it is Christians that are destabilizing it. When I realized that last night, I was so hurt and so shocked at how easily swayed, confused, and manipulated people really are. And I said, well, it shouldn't shock me. I mean, they put a lot of money into these plans to destroy what Christians believe. So here I am going to show you something. Now, this is a little old. We have to go back to go forward. This was actually put out. This is Erica Kirk's pastor, but remember, she is really Catholic.
All across the country, millions of Americans have prayed, hosted vigils, attended church services, became engaged for the first time, and honored the legacy of Charlie and the ideals he died speaking for. The beautiful memorial service attended by President Trump and 100,000 great Americans in State Farm Stadium yesterday was just the latest example. And Erica Kirk's mercy was one of the greatest acts of grace this world has ever seen.
It's not just the White House and Kirk's supporters that are applauding Erica Kirk tonight. Pundits on both sides of the aisle are praising the young widow for the strength that she is showing. For my next guest, this is not surprising. Pastor David Engelhardt has been Erica's pastor for years. He was pastor and friend to Charlie Kirk, too. A board member of Turning Point USA, Pastor Engelhardt was at the memorial service yesterday. He's joining us now. Pastor, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Hannah. Pleasure to be on. It's one of the honors of my life to be one of the many pastors around Charlie and Erica Kirk over the last few years as they've stood as such incredible and strong bastions of truth and faith. And so just for your audience, I want to say, please continue to keep them in prayer. Erica, her children, their family. And if you want to support, please go to fightforcharlie.com to support. But forgiveness is central to Christianity. And Erica knew that. And she spoke it so eloquently yesterday. The Lord's Prayer.
First, let me stop it here. This is supposedly Erica Kirk's pastor, but he clearly stated that he was not Charlie's pastor. Guys, how weird is that? I don't know any truly happy couples who attend totally different denominations or have totally different pastors. That's like having different bank accounts. I'm sorry. Marriage is a oneness. It is a coming together physically, spiritually, morally. And I see this. Erica's got this pastor. Charlie's got this pastor. This pastor claims that they were theirs. It just seems like they were being pulled to and fro because all these men around them, they were all Seven Mountain Mandate proponents. And what is the first thing he does? Go donate money to them. I mean, wow.
The very center of the gospel, Jesus said, if you don't forgive men your trespasses, then your Father in heaven will not forgive you yours. And Erica knows that. And, you know, they say that bitterness is like drinking poison and hoping your enemy will die. It doesn't work that way. It damages us. Mm-hmm. And God knows that there's an antidote, and that antidote comes with forgiveness. There's a famous pundit in the early 1900s. He was asked by the London Times, what is wrong with the world? And he answers, sirs, it is I. And Christianity says, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That means we know something's wrong with us. That way we can have grace with those around us, even in the extreme and horrific circumstances that we find ourselves in.
Well,
and
Pastor,
Erica was such a beautiful voice.
Well, I know you lost a family friend yourself. I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm so glad you came on. Thank you again for your time. There's so much I want to talk to you about tonight. I am going to start with the latest story about Jimmy Kimmel returning to the airwaves. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, constitutionally, I'm a lawyer and a pastor. A private company can do it whatever it wants. And we've had such a crazy pushback against faith conversations and Christianity in the marketplace, and the Kimmel response, the frustration for the left, seemed very stark in contrast to people like Tucker Carlson and J.D. Vance, and this incredible declaration of the gospel that I've never seen anything like that. And so we have a very...
Okay, I can't do him. I just wanted to show you that bit about how they had separate pastors. Now, I found this. I think I've shown this young woman before. Everything I show you, I will link it in the description of the video so that you can go watch the entirety of these people's videos.
For all we know, Charlie could have, we really don't know. But 100% they are both involved. And we see how Charlie's murder, right, leaves a void for a Mary figure to rise from the ashes from the death of a Christ. So Erica being the Mary figure, the Isis figure, and Charlie.
But I want to read this to you. Greece for the World Meeting on Human Fraternity at the Vatican. September 14th. Drone show, St. Peter's Square. The drones were coordinated by a company owned by Elon Musk's brother. They opened the performance by singing Ave Maria, while icons of Mary and Pope Francis played in the sky. So they're real big into this symbology, okay? But remember, I've told you, the Catholic Mary is not Mary, Mother of God. It is, just watch.
Being the Christ figure, right? Or the Osiris. So everything is all implicit and symbolic. Moreover, we see that the death or the ashes of a Protestant has made a space for the Catholic ideology to take its place. And we see how Erica was appointed CEO of Turning Point USA, which Charlie used to run. So, like in the first video, we talked about how, you know, Alberto Rivera discusses the Jesuit infiltration agenda, which involves, infiltrating through marriage, seduction, working relationships, friendships, in order to destroy something and bring in the Vatican and the papal authority up from the ashes of that, destroyed Protestant movement or Protestant church or Protestant organization or Protestant school. In the case of Turning Point USA, you would have a Catholic Mary figure, woman, an idolized woman coming up from the ashes of the death of a Protestant leader, okay, who had Protestant ideology, even though he did sympathize with Catholic ideology such as Maryism or Mariology. He very openly, clearly rebuked the authority of the Pope.
And do you guys see in the bottom right corner down here, I Pet Goat Too? Remember when you and I went through all of that? There's a reason I take the time to show you guys stuff. Now, to the good stuff. Because by now, several people have already typed in comments. Clement was not part of the Seven Mountain Mandate. I know you guys at this point. He was. Nearly 20 years ago, I began to hear God tell me about the seven mountains and a movement that was coming. I fell out of rhythm with the revival theme, but I knew the seven mountain message had the power to change everything when properly understood. I believe the reason God entrusted me with the seven mountain mandate is because something Clement taught about hearing God's voice. Kim said he believed his willingness to give what God told him to give helped activate his gift. I started asking God for a specific amount to put into the offering when Kim preached. Annabelle was a great sport, often challenging me to give way past my comfort level. Pretty soon we were both hearing the same numbers. We practiced this with other ministries as well. Once we gave, we had to guard the harvest. It's not just one and done thing. We had a choice to stay connected to what Kim was doing and teaching. Looking back, it seems to me that my gift developed most radically during this period of time. Before long, I was teaching in Kim's daytime meetings while he preached at night. Now, for all of you naysayers, what say you now? Guys, just because you like someone before you have all the evidence doesn't mean you have to stop liking them or stop listening to them. But intentionally blinding yourself to the truth isn't going to help either. Clement was a mountain mandate forerunner. I sowed into Kim's gift and reaped what I sowed into, but the manifestation was customized to my unique calling and message. They also, pushed each other's ministries so that you could give to Kim and give to me, spread the wealth so we can all be rich, right? Here's more. Lance Wallnau, what Clement told me. Now, look at these two people. This is Lance Wallnau and this is Clement. They were friends. When Kim visited our church, he loved to go to Newport, Rhode Island. Quite often, we would be intentionally engaged in some activity or conversation, and he would suddenly grow sullen and withdrawn. The first time this happened, I asked if there was something wrong. He looked at his watch and said, "It's 3 p.m. and the wind is blowing in the garden." He went on to explain how he established a daily routine of communion with God. And if he did not meet with God earlier in the day, the Lord would be looking for him around 3 p.m. in the same way the Lord walked in the garden with Adam. In order to accommodate his desire to spend this time with the Lord prior to speaking, I started placing a keyboard in his hotel room. Kim liked iconic places, and the Biltmore Hotel in Providence, Rhode Island fit that description. I put him on the top floor where there were only 2 apartments. Kim had an energy about him that seemed to attract unusual experiences. For some reason, he decided to worship while half dressed and stretched out on the floor. At that moment, the mayor of Providence came into Kim's room with an entourage from the hotel. They were supposed to go into the other apartment, but were given Kim's room by mistake. They asked him what he was doing in their room, and he replied by asking them what they were doing in his. Kim never got up off the floor, just picked up singing where he left off. When Kim next came to Rhode Island, he was scheduled to speak at a friend's church. I remember how strange it was to watch him standing on the platform and calling out what he heard, even when it made no earthly sense. Kim stood on the platform and yelled out a name, Waddell. He called the name out 2 or 3 times. Suddenly, slowly, a dark-skinned, gaunt Ethiopian-looking man came up the middle aisle from the back of the sanctuary and approached the platform. Nobody knew who he was. He just came out of nowhere. Kim told him his disease in his blood was cleansed by the power of God. It wasn't until a year later I met a well-dressed, fit fellow who introduced himself to me. It was Waddell. He explained that he came to the church that night without any knowledge of what was going to go on or why he came. He was dying of AIDS. All right. A little bit more evidence for those who may still not want to believe me. 7 mountains or 7 lies, dismantling the dominion mandate. Here's the thing I think most people are missing. The 7 mountain mandate declares that there are going to be prophets and teachers and evangelists in the end times, like new ones that aren't mentioned in the Bible. And that is where, Lance Wallnau calls himself a pastor and a teacher. Kim Clement was their prophet. Who is the other one? The one in the White House, the white woman. She's a prophetess, so you've got these people. There's a movement in the modern church telling believers they must rise to the 7 cultural mountains: government, media, business, education, arts, religion, and family, in order to bring in the kingdom of God. That's just it. I don't understand how true Christians who have studied their Bible and rightly discerned it, not just, cherry pick verses out of it to fit your mood, but have rightly discerned the word of God, can fall for this. There's nowhere in the Bible that says if Christians take the world over and get it just perfect, then Jesus will step out and begin to reign. It says the total opposite. It says the 7 mountain mandate, born out of a dominion theology and championed by the New Apostolic Reformation, NAR, teaches that Christ cannot return until his people have taken dominion over these sectors. It's a conquer culture. It is a war culture. It is a culture of hate. I have heard these people speak at Charlie Kirk's memorial. They were trying to raise an army. You all felt it. Some of us had to watch it and then walk away from it and then go back a month later and listen to the anger in these people's voices. Listen to them tell you to take back. But they don't mean take it back through prayer or through spreading the gospel or starting ministries or sowing seed. No, they mean arm up and take it back. In 1975, Christian leaders Bill Bright and Lauren Cunningham reportedly received a revelation that Christians must influence the 7 spheres of society to fulfill the Great Commission. Funny thing, so did the Luciferians. They received the same message, but it was like the end of the 1800s, early 1900s. And so this is really the Seven Mountain Mandate. I believe this in my heart is really, it's Satan's plan. It is Satan's plan. It is to, instead of preaching repentance and calling men into the kingdom, the movement redirects the church's mission toward conquest, power acquisition, and cultural dominance. Some of you saw it yesterday when I did the video on Christmas is not a pagan holiday. One of you, I don't remember who wrote it, but he goes, wow, Sam, now I see what you've been trying to tell all of us. If Christians get their theocracy, if the Seven Mountain Mandate gets and gains ground, who is going to control? Who is going to decide whether or not we can have Christmas, or we can have Christmas trees, or we can celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, or even he was like, oh my gosh, I see what you're saying. Just go read the comments. This person screaming that Jeremiah 10, totally taking the verse out of context. It's not talking about a Christmas tree. It's talking about whittling a piece of wood into an idol. It's two totally different things. But you've got a group of legalist Christians that are convinced that Christmas is pagan. So if you give power to those people, what do you think would happen? Right. This is what floors me, that in today's world, that people are just tossed to and fro. I see it with people wanting to argue, oh, we're in Satan's little season. No, we're not. You guys, come on, get into your Bible, go to Bible school, go to Sunday school, find a church and go, because you're being tossed because you don't understand the history of the Bible, or the time that those verses were written in, or where Jeremiah was when he was writing Jeremiah 10. Yes, all of that context actually matters. And I see what's happening to the Christian church, this apostasy. That is what it is. This, I don't want to go to church. There's just constant excuses. I don't want to go to church. They don't teach the right stuff. It is this refusal to put ourselves spiritually under the guidance of a pastor. That's what God created pastors, friends, because we need a spiritual leader in our life. And, I'm so hurt for people that you would take what could be some of the best memories of celebrating the birth of your Lord and Savior with your family, the opportunity that you have there to teach your grandchildren to give, to go buy gifts, not for them, but to give to people who have nothing, to take them to the elderly folks' home and paint fingernails and brush hair and sing hymns. There's so many opportunities at this time of year to be the hands and feet of Jesus. But you've got this group that has become legalistic. Even if you don't realize it, the dominion mandate is already directing your life. This is not a revival. It is a rebellion dressed in religious language. The true mandate of the church. Jesus gave his church one clear command. Go ye therefore and teach to all nations. That's Matthew 28:19. The goal was never to dominate government or even the entertainment system. It was to preach the gospel, make disciples, and call men out of the world system. Now, this is what some people are going to come back. But Christmas is the world. No, friends, it's not. Christmas has been under attack for 100 years, and only until the last 5 years since COVID have we seen people want to go against celebrating Jesus. God wants you to celebrate him, all right? Paul warned that in the last days, men would be lovers of their own selves, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. 2 Timothy 3:2-5. Dominionism is the form, but not the power. The real kingdom is not of this world. So it just goes on. And I'm going to link all this for y'all, but I want to show you Lance Wallnau trying to convince you and I that Erica Kirk is actually Esther that Kim Clement mentioned. Now, if they make me take this out, it'll go straight to Twitter, but I'll still link this video for you to watch.
Who can speak and articulate things to come. A friend of mine who I traveled with named Kim Clement from South Africa.
Just in case you still did not believe that Kim Clement and Lance Wallnau were friends, traveled together, and they were both Seven Mountain Mandate, he just said it.
American citizen, had a unique credibility in that regard. And it was because in his live meetings, he was able to bring people up on a platform and without any kind of a Peter Popoff hidden ear device or something like that, he actually would receive in time real, what we call words of knowledge. And I've been with him on many occasions. I travel with him, and he would get a person's name or the doctor or the medical condition or the.
Okay. This is Kim Clement himself talking about an Esther rising.
At all socialism, where where they have said we will make history without God. No, you will not. No, you will not, says the Lord. For I chose this nation before it was founded. Before anybody came here, I chose this entire nation, all 50 states, every one of them, to send my gospel to the entire earth. Do you think I have changed my mind? Therefore, the healing that is necessary for this nation shall come at a time in the middle of the presidency. There shall be a woman that shall come. And God said there shall be oil that shall be poured upon the nation. And they shall suddenly feel the healing. And they shall say, it is well with my soul. It is well with our soul. For the soul of America has been corrupted. The soul of this nation has been corrupted with bitterness and anger. And God said she shall say, no more bitterness, no more anger, no more division, and shall pour the oil that shall come from the Spirit of the Lord himself. If you as a nation believe that, if you want this, lift your voice and shout one more time and say, yes.
If you believe this, you would shout and say yes. Let's play for our audience the woman that many believe is the recipient of this mantle of Esther, who can pour oil on the nation.
Remember that the NAR believes in this mantle, right? Because you know, like when you go in your Old Testament and you got Elisha and Elijah, and he gets the whirlwind, he takes up, and then the other one takes up the mantle, right? Takes up the mantle. So these new NAR movement people believe that you can take Old Testament prophets and Old Testament, kings, you can take up their mantles, and you basically can have all their gifts and fulfill, again, that in today's time.
Heal the divide left and right. And curious that he said the first place would be the violence in the schools, such as the violence that took her husband. Play a video clip 2, please.
The evildoers responsible for my
I have to fast forward her. She irritates me so bad, you guys.
country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die.
You have to cast out the devil. That's just Bible. So Jesus, when he was on the Sea of Galilee, and a great storm came because the Spirit rose up to destroy him and to sink the boat, he rose up and rebuked the storm. He rebuked that which was manifesting. And then he spoke, peace, be still, to what was agitated because of the evil spirit. You can't pour oil on the existing Democratic Party today while I'm sitting here in the studio. Kash Patel, who's getting beat up by our side and the other side because of the stages of grief and anger, and you want to blame somebody, and there's a cover-up going on, Candace Owen thinks, in her delusion. No, Kash and Dan Bongino, thank God they're there doing everything they could do. And this president is 100% behind rooting out the evil. He says stuff nobody can believe. He goes right out and says, he says, if Soros is involved, this is RICO stuff. Somebody else has to figure out how to get him. But he knows after they tried to lock him up 4 times and assassinate him twice, he's not going to be pouring oil on what needs to be cast out. So J.D. Vance, sitting in Charlie's seat, made the interesting statement that his kindness as a political leader says most Democrats aren't in agreement with this, though I did give you the 56% of those to the left actually justify violence in certain circumstances. He said there is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. He went to Disney World. He's got a little kid, like, 7, 8, 10. And people came up and screamed at his kids and traumatized them at Disney. These people are crazy.
Look at that man's face and tell me, do you see Jesus there? I used to be just like him. I left the videos up so people could go back and watch them, how I said, you cannot be a Christian and vote on the Democrat side. You can't. Like, you cannot. This is someone who wants to and will, if he gets his way, create Christian nationalism in this country. This man right here is extremely dangerous.
Power persuades you, but our persuasion is dangerously powerful. That's why they have to silence us. Paul would say, reason with them, as Charlie was doing, that they may be delivered out of the hand of the devil who has taken them captive to do his will. Reason with them. So we have no choice. Our weapon is the power of persuasion, but our persuasion is dangerously powerful. That's why they have to silence us. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. Like the pulpiteers I'm listening to, the goofball false prophets baptized with a fiery eloquence from hell, stirring up the crowd behind them, while they're saying there is no celebration of a man who is a racist. Charlie was not a racist. Ignoramus. Listen to what he said. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family day after the father of the family lost a dear friend. There's no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. There's no unity with the people who fund the terrorist sympathizers. Well, the Apostle Paul is the spirit of Charlie Kirk. That same zeal. Remember what Paul said? I didn't.
The Apostle Paul is the spirit of Charlie Kirk. Listen to him.
Charlie Kirk's assassination. There's no unity with the people who fund the terrorist sympathizers. Well, the Apostle Paul is the spirit of Charlie Kirk. That same.
The Apostle Paul is the spirit of Charlie Kirk. And he never says whether or not he believes, well, I didn't hear it, that Erica Kirk is going to be the Esther, but he insinuated. I found this funny because I like Cinema Shogun, and I found this that he tweeted this out last night. I originally started trolling Candace Owens fans because I thought it was ridiculous that anyone would believe some of her outlandish claims. Just for craps and giggles, nothing too serious, but upon further review, there seems to be some pretty dark stuff going. I'm talking about dark pipelines from Candace cult to Scientology. I'm talking direct pipelines from Candace cult to overseas sports gambling scams. I'm not sure what role she plays in all of this, but it's clear there are several bad actors close to her preying on her audience because they know they're gullible. Then I found this morning.
Culture or demands that you change. Just so we're clear, if a foreigner comes to your country and demands that you accept their culture as your culture or demands that you change your beliefs, that is not a foreigner. That is not an immigrant. What that is an invader. That is.
And I think that's what happened with Christmas. They when they were trying to take Christmas out of schools, Christians doubled down, and we went bigger and harder for Christmas, all about Jesus, manger scenes and baby Jesuses everywhere. So Satan realized, well, that a direct attack is not going to work. So I'm going to call it pagan, and they'll stop doing it on their own. I got uninvited from the Qatar conservative influencer trip because I asked why they spent nearly $7 billion on corrupting American educational institutions. Oh, well. And that's Xavier DeRusso. Now, this I wanted to share. Another Black man was found hanging from a tree at the Brookfield Golf Course in Wisconsin. His name was Torrance Medley, 39. He had no mental health issues. This was ruled a suicide immediately, and the NAACP wants it to be investigated. There was another Black man found hanging in a tree at a college campus in Mississippi like 2 or 3 days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And of course, they tried to blame the white people for it, right? I think this is CIA going around and doing this to Black people. Now, I also want to show you what happened. Let me find it. What Harvard put out. Harvard then put out, I thought I shared it. I may come across it in a second. Harvard put out a paper talking about getting rid of white people. They are pitting us against each other, friends and family. This is Daniel Borden. At some point, you've got to respect Qatar for just buying the entire influencer sphere. The fact that people now flex their lack of integrity is wild. So beautiful. Can't wait to come back. She's in Qatar. Be careful. They own them all. I'm done with this crap. Completely done. Just in a terrifying sight. Muslims stormed the opening night of the Christmas market in Brussels, waving Palestinian flags, setting off smoke bombs, and scaring families. They don't have to worry about doing it here. They don't have to worry about doing it here. Christians won't even celebrate Christmas. Remember what I told you. When there's a void, something will fill it. For 2 decades, Venezuela cultivated anti-American allies from Russia and China to Cuba and Iran, hoping to form a new world order that could stand up to Washington. It hasn't worked. Want to know what's going on in Venezuela? It's much bigger than you realize. Erica Kirk is going to turn up the volume on the right's efforts to win young women in a big way. No one on our side is ready for this. So I guess that's a leftist saying that, but this is what she wrote, or they wrote. Erica Kirk announcement, September 17th. In Ecclesiastes, King Solomon wrote that mankind is to be tested by God. Today, we are facing such a test, yet we also know that God has prepared us with everything we need to overcome the ordeal. It was the honor of our lives to serve as board members at Charlie's side. Charlie prepared all of us for a moment like this one. He worked tirelessly to ensure Turning Point USA was built to survive even the greatest test. And there they go, in carrying Charlie Kirk's mantle. His mantle. Don't forget that word is a 7 Mountain Mandate nonsense. The rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper, doesn't it? You start tugging on one loose thread, and the whole sweater of coincidences unravels. 13 years ago, Erica Kirk pops up in a music video with numbers flashing behind her. 910, 1010. Now, after the most public, bizarre tragedy imaginable, she is suddenly The CEO with the ready-made 2030 vision and a hidden content vault. I'm not saying every number or music video is a conspiracy, but I've been saved in ministry and fighting spiritual warfare long enough to know the devil loves breadcrumbs, symbolism, and patterns. God warns about the mystery of iniquity already at work. This isn't about celebrity gossip, it's about discernment. While the media and the Christian celebrity machine are hypnotizing people with sound bites and slick rollouts, the average believer can't see past the bright lights. Proverbs says, "The prudent foreseeth the evil and hideth himself." Wake up. Stop laughing off discernment like it's a punchline. When things are this prepackaged and this polished in the wake of a tragedy, that's your cue to ask questions. And this is her when she played in 2 different episodes in season 3. She was in 11 and 12, swapping her phone number with the boy here. All right. Let me find it. Did I click on it? I must. Oh, yeah, I did. So let me go back. Sorry, guys. And let me keep going down. All right. We are all witnesses with fire in her eyes and God's presence upon her. Erica Kirk looked into the twisted heart of the enemy and declared, really? Cult and things. Erica paid her rite of passage. I said this on September 23rd. Now, let's look back. Erica Kirk didn't appear out of nowhere. She came out of the same pageant and politics incubator that has turned beauty branding into soft power. The pageant circuit feeds the influence circuit, where image, religion, and access merge into one seamless currency. Her resume connects media, philanthropy, defense adjacent spaces, particularly through her parents. All right, so her mom had a hand in the project, Iron Dome. Her dad was intelligence. Her family background and networks sit at a crossroads of corporate tech, policy think tanks, and national security projects. It's not a coincidence. This is how the system reproduces itself. Each generation of influencers arrives polished, rehearsed, and fully integrated into the networks that blur faith, politics, and money. They call it service. But look closely and you'll see the machinery of brand management for an empire. The script is ancient. The stage just keeps getting rebuilt. Long before Hollywood, long before influencer culture, there was Babylon. The cult of Ishtar ruled the trifecta of control: the temple, the theater, the brothel. They managed the prayers, the performances, and the pleasures. They owned the ears of the crowd, the hearts of the faithful, and the secrets whispered behind closed doors. That's how you run an empire. Not by force, but by fascination. Control the spectacle, and you control the soul. Enjoy the show. Fast forward a few millennia, and the same ritual repeats under new lights and corporate logos. The beauty pageant becomes the modern temple. Its contestants the new priestess of brand and belief. Even the symbols betray the lineage, as Trump's Miss Universe crown glows with the same 8-pointed star that once marked the temples of Ishtar and Enia, the star of power, seduction, and empire. A different empire, same goddess, different sacrifice, same blood in the soil. She played her part, she passed her test, and now the world is her oyster. Yep. Frank Turek. Erica Kirk is a force of nature. In fact, I know what's going on in the spiritual realm right now. Every morning that Erica Kirk gets up, the devil shrieks, "Oh no, she's awake again." Cash Patel didn't say rip Charlie. He didn't say see you in heaven. He said see you in Valhalla. That's not a eulogy. It's a witness protection speak for the hoopum junkies. It's ritual language.
Until one day she receives an invitation. May 2012, wins Miss Arizona, competes in Miss USA, a pageant owned by ... Trump. Okay, want to know something really weird? So she had said in a podcast that she had never competed in pageants and had never done any modeling before. Until one day she receives an invitation in the mail to become a model and start doing pageants. And the pageants that she started doing were Miss USA pageants owned by Trump. So she modeled for Trump. She was one of Trump's pageant girls. But did you know that she was also a casting director at the same time that she was doing all of this stuff for Trump? Now, she doesn't specify on her website if she worked as a casting director for Trump, but around the time that she was claiming to be a casting director, she also owned a ministry that was working with the U.S. military in Romania. The area in Romania where she was operating this ministry had a bunch of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country. These children were being found in the UK, in Israel, and were also being sent to undisclosed private islands. Locals demanded authorities look into it, but they never did. Now, Charlie Kirk really wanted the Epstein files released, but did his wife? Prior to marrying Charlie Kirk, she was a multi-millionaire on her own, and since his passing, she's also amassed all of his wealth, plus an additional at least $5 million in donations. She's currently considered the most powerful woman in the United States, with mega fans begging her to run as vice president in 2028. Let's talk about their first date, because it was actually a job interview. Back in 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump had started working with Charlie Kirk had hosted a Turning Point USA opening event for one of the offices that they had opened. And Erica and Charlie Kirk were introduced to each other. Charlie Kirk instantly thought that she was beautiful, but thought that she was really smart. And allegedly, one of their mutuals had suggested that Charlie Kirk hire Erica. I'm assuming it was Donald Trump or someone on his team, because Donald Trump had signed on to work with Charlie Kirk, and Erica was already one of Donald Trump's employees. So it would make the most sense for Donald Trump and his team to encourage Charlie Kirk to hire Donald Trump's employees. Anyways, Charlie Kirk DM'd Erica, invited her for a job interview. The job interview ended up turning into a date, and Erica allegedly had said, "You're not going to be my boss. You're going to..."
Now, y'all know how that ends. There's something on here I wanted to show you guys about the Hamptons. Just keep watching.
Talking about, or her announcement or whatever.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. In this world, you have no idea.
Now pause for a second. Let's take a step back. So that sounds like grief. It does. But listen to the energy. It's rallying energy. That's rallying, that's threatening, and that was meant to ignite division. This is not about left or right. This is about the frequency of us versus them. When you absorb words like this without discernment, it traps you in a negative thought form, anger, fear, retaliation. And that energy, it makes you hate your neighbor. It makes you hate people that don't agree with you. So not only does it make you hate your neighbor, it makes you believe that you have an enemy, when really, the real enemy is the system keeping us divided. Guys, this is how the Matrix works. They want us picking sides, feeding polarity, staying stuck in separation, because as long as we're fighting each other, we can't wake up to our collective power, okay?
That's so true. That's how I feel about this Christmas thing. Like, you guys would not believe how many people unsubscribed because I said Christmas was not a pagan holiday. Now, if that's not polarity, I don't know what is. Is this being fulfilled today? Could it be Erica Kirk? Kim Clement, March 25th, 2011. They think it's going to be her, and I do not. You got women on here talking to her about how amazing. It says, hearing reports that Erica Kirk is a high-ranking priestess in the temple of Set and will usher in a satanic dark age of endless war and suffering. Erica Kirk cannot hide from us. We see you, Erica. The Lord and his angel see right through you. She is a compulsive liar, watching and exposing you, sister. You are not a follower of Christ. You are the complete opposite. You are everything about you is a fraud. Excuse me. I'm calling it, if Erica Kirk really is pregnant, they've set this whole thing up to make her out to be the divine mother because they knew she was here and needed to mask the truth with this controversy. Now, watch this about people in China.
By the authorities. This
They didn't go broke, they got deleted. In China, tens of thousands of young people are suddenly homeless, not because of money, but because the system erased them.
Imagine a society where everything you do, everything you say, and everything you buy is controlled and evaluated by the authorities. This is what the Chinese Communist Party calls social credit.
By using the mechanism of social credit, we'll be able to establish a blacklist of people and create a system of punishment that will be based on a scientific theory. These punishments will serve as a whip to rebuild moral values. Our society needs it.
The country's social credit system decides who's trustworthy. But if you're blacklisted, it's game over. Your WeChat Pay stops working, you can't receive your salary, can't buy food, can't even book a train ticket. It's like being alive, but digitally. Many are now sleeping in the streets, cut off from everything. Jobs, housing, even communication. All because one app, one algorithm decided they don't belong.
It's not science fiction. In China, it's a reality. Then there's the public shaming. Photo galleries of blacklisted citizens. There's even an app that shows who around you is in debt.
They're not criminals. They didn't steal, cheat, or harm anyone. They just fell too low on a score and vanished from the digital world. Critics say it's a glimpse into the future, where technology doesn't just track your life, it controls it. So ask yourself, if your entire life depended on your digital reputation, how long before you get deleted?
Oh, Lord. I'd be on the street.
They didn't go broke. They got deleted.
You guys know it's true. All right. So, DC National Guard, that's something different. Okay. So I don't know what happened, but there was a video. I thought I had shared it talking about the Hamptons. Oh, that's what it was. Remember the connection. All right, so Charlie Kirk and her, they meet at the Hamptons. Remember, he was at the Hamptons right before he was assassinated. Guys, I am telling y'all, this is so deep. All of it. It's all deep. You've got Muslims taking over our country. They're stealing our traditions, leaving a void. What's going to replace it? Muslims? Sharia law? We know the digital ID is rolled out, right? We know this digital currency is coming like a freight train. I keep trying to tell you guys, I've been reading this and I'm mind blown. This is going to upset some people, but I'm going to read it anyway, right? Maha as a Trojan horse for MABA, MABA. In the landscape of American health policy under the second Trump administration, RFK Jr., appointed as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services in early 2025, was marked by a pivotal shift toward aggressive reform. At the forefront of his agenda stands Make America Healthy Again, MAHA, a sweeping initiative aimed at tackling the nation's chronic disease epidemic through targeted interventions, scrutinizing harmful food additives, reevaluating vaccine safety frameworks, and fostering a culture of proactive wellness. He was even supposed to be helping you and I stop what they're doing in the skies. By the way, you can pick up our book, Growing Under a Poison Sky. I will link it. They're supposed to be, they know it's there, you guys. Yet beneath this ostensibly populist banner of public health empowerment lies a more ambitious and arguably insidious blueprint. Make American Biotech Accelerate, MABA. RFK Jr. has framed MABA not as a standalone program, but as an integral pillar of MAHA, positioning it as the engine for unlocking American science to deliver rapid medical breakthroughs. This integration raises questions about whether MAHA serves as a Trojan horse, cloaking the acceleration of biotech deregulation and corporate innovation under the guise of everyday health improvements. We're not going to get away from it. The Bible said there would be the mark of the beast, that you would not buy or sell. You will not. It's coming. It's already happening in China. It's being rolled out in pieces. And this is what frustrates me about people on the right. I am on the right. I guess you could really call me centered. I'm just centered. But I've always been more of a Republican than anything. I've always been a constitutionalist. I've always been a conservative Christian. I look around me, they're all back asleep. I'm like, wake up, please, wake up. And they're like, oh no, Trump's in the White House. Everything's great, great, great. We lost more rights under a Republican president with that Patriot Act than we have ever lost actual rights under any Democrat president. What we lose with Democrats are social. We lose social moral ground. We get stuck with more social programs. We don't lose constitutional rights. That tends to happen under Republicans. Guys, I'm very concerned that we are going to lose the Senate and the House. These midterms, we're going to lose. We're going to lose. We're going to lose the majority. And nothing's going to get done. Nobody's going to get arrested for what they did to us during COVID, or Joe Biden with the stupid auto pen. None of them. None of them. We're never going to find out who is involved with Epstein. I talked to a good friend of mine the other day, Miss Patricia, and she was like, I think that if Trump showed people who was truly on the Epstein list, like America would crumble, then let it crumble. Maybe it's time for the whole political fiasco to just fall, and let's see who emerges on top. So I don't know about you, but come Jesus, come. For the ones of you still here, God bless you. Thank you to the ones that are rowing in our boat with Stephen's continuing medical expense. It's a lot, you guys. I appreciate anything you guys send. I really do. I love you all so very much. Have a blessed day.